For decades, the name Seagal meant one thing: bone-crunching Hollywood action. It was a brand built on Aikido, broken wrists, and blockbuster movies that defined an entire generation of tough guys. But the next chapter of that legacy isn't being written on a film set. It's being forged inside a wrestling ring. This is the incredible story of how Steven Seagal's daughter, Arissa LeBrock, battled back from a devastating setback and the massive shadow of her famous parents to build her own name in the brutal world of professional wrestling. This isn't just a story about a celebrity's kid playing wrestler. It's a story about a dream that was shattered, a fall into a dark place, and an insane comeback that has put the entire industry on notice. In wrestling, you only get one shot at a first impression. A debut can make or break a career. For Arissa LeBrock, the daughter of action icon Steven Seagal and supermodel Kelly LeBrock, that debut could be something truly terrifying. She has a skill set so unique, so dangerous, that it breaks the mold of sports entertainment. So what happens when that potential is finally unleashed on the biggest stage? Imagine a debut so brutal and efficient it sends a shockwave through the entire WWE. This is the full story of the comeback that made it possible, and the shocking arrival that could change everything. To really get this journey, you have to understand where it started. Arissa LeBrock was born into a world of flashbulbs and fame. Her dad, Steven Seagal, was a global action star, a guy whose on-screen persona was built on a very real and intimidating martial arts background. Her mom, Kelly LeBrock, was an icon of 80s beauty, a supermodel and actress who defined glamour for an era. Growing up with that kind of lineage casts a shadow that's almost impossible to escape. The world was always going to see her as the daughter of, a label that might open some doors but threaten to define her before she ever had a chance to write her own story. Instead of just riding her parents' coattails, she carved her own path. First, she stepped into her mother's world, but on her own terms, becoming a successful plus-size model and even appearing on the Lifetime reality show Growing Up Supermodel. She used that platform to champion body positivity in an industry famous for its rigid standards. But while she was making waves on the runway, another part of her heritage started calling to her. The martial arts world her father was known for wasn't just something she grew up around. It was an inspiration. Arissa began seriously training in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. This was no celebrity hobby. She became a dedicated and fierce competitor, documenting her grueling journey and building a foundation of legitimate combat skill. It was this rare mix of qualities, the marketability of a model, the charisma of a Hollywood kid, and the certified toughness of a BJJ practitioner, that put her on a path straight toward professional wrestling. And in December 2019, the call every aspiring wrestler dreams of finally came. WWE invited Arissa for a multi-day tryout at their performance center in Orlando, Florida. This was it, the golden ticket. For a minute, her path seemed set. An NXT contract and an eventual main roster debut felt like it was just a matter of time. But the business she was about to enter is notoriously unforgiving, and her journey was about to take a devastating turn. The WWE Performance Center is designed to push athletes to their absolute limits. Somewhere in that high-pressure environment, disaster struck. While the specific details have been kept private, the result was a massive setback that stopped her career cold. One moment, she was on the verge of a WWE contract, and the next, the dream was ripped away. The business she wanted to conquer had rejected her in the most brutal way possible. The physical toll was huge, but the psychological damage was even worse. Arissa later admitted with incredible honesty that she had fallen into a deep, dark place. In her own words, she said, "I realized that I had become comfortable in the darkest, worst place in my life." Think about that. It's one thing to hit rock bottom after a setback, it's another to get comfortable there. It suggests a level of despair that feels like giving up. For years, the hype died down. It looked like the book had slammed shut on her dream. The story of Arissa LeBrock, professional wrestler, was about to become a forgotten what if. But in wrestling, the best stories are always about the comeback. While Arissa was in that dark place, her story reached the ears of a wrestling legend, a man who knows a thing or two about living in a famous shadow, Dustin Rhodes. Dustin, son of the iconic American Dream Dusty Rhodes, saw her untapped potential. He picked up the phone and made a call that was basically a lifeline. He invited her to move from California to Austin, Texas, to train at his school, the Rhodes Wrestling Academy. For Arissa, that call was the shock to the system she needed. It was a second chance, and she knew it might be her last. She made a life-changing decision. She packed her bags, left California behind, and went all in. The Rhodes Wrestling Academy is a world away from the polished, corporate WWE Performance Center. It's an old-school, gritty, sweat-stained gym where you earn respect. Here, she wasn't Steven Seagal's daughter. She was just another student learning from a master. She was broken down and rebuilt from the ground up. For months, she drilled the fundamentals, taking bumps, running the ropes, and learning the complex art of telling a story in the ring. Dustin molded her raw talent, blending her BJJ grappling with the pro wrestling foundation she was missing. The praise from the legend himself said it all. In an interview, Dustin Rhodes voiced his confidence, predicting, "Pretty soon the whole world's going to be talking about Arissa LeBrock." Coming from a veteran like Dustin, that's a massive vote of confidence, earned with sweat, not by her last name. After months of grueling work, the moment of truth finally came. In March 2023, Arissa LeBrock competed in the Rhodes Wrestling Academy's Student Showcase, her official public in-ring debut. This wasn't some giant arena, but an intimate setting in Texas, in front of a small, passionate crowd that knows what it takes just to step through those ropes. When she made her entrance, the transformation was complete. She wasn't a model or a celebrity's daughter. She was a professional wrestler. The match itself was a statement. Reports from the showcase described her style as brutally efficient, a seamless and violent fusion of BJJ grappling and pro wrestling power. When her arm was raised in victory, she had finally stepped out of her parents' massive shadows and into the squared circle on her own 2 feet. Arissa's journey of recovery and reinvention is one of the most compelling stories in wrestling today. It's proof that legacy isn't what you're given, it's what you build. If you're enjoying this story of a comeback against all odds, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what happens next. With her foundation rebuilt and her style sharpened into a unique weapon, Arissa's real-life story is already a triumph. But it also sets the stage for a question wrestling fans have been asking. What would happen if this new, more dangerous version of Arissa finally arrived in WWE? What would that look like? It couldn't be a quiet introduction. It would have to be a lightning strike, shocking, unforgettable, and completely decisive. So let's paint the picture. Imagine this. It's Monday Night Raw, live in a sold-out arena. The dominant women's world champion, let's call her Victoria Blackwood, stands in the ring. Blackwood is a monster, a powerhouse who has torn through every challenger, a champion defined by brute force. She's just destroyed another opponent and grabs a mic, declaring there's no one left. No one in the back, no one on the roster, and no one on the planet with the guts to face her. The crowd boos, but they kind of know she's right. Then the lights go dark. Total confusion. This isn't part of the show. There's no music, no pyro, just an unsettling silence. A single, harsh spotlight hits the top of the entrance ramp. It's Arissa LeBrock. The commentators are scrambling, confused. They recognize the name, the family, but not the cold, predatory intensity in her eyes. She walks to the ring with a deliberate, unnerving calm and slides under the bottom rope, never taking her eyes off the champion. The bell rings. What follows is not a wrestling match, it's a dismantling. Blackwood, the powerhouse, rushes forward, but LeBrock doesn't meet force with force. She evades, using Blackwood's own momentum against her. It's a martial arts clinic. LeBrock controls the champion's wrist, manipulating her joints with a precision that looks both painful and unstoppable. There are no body slams or suplexes. Instead, there are throws, sweeps, and joint locks the champion has never seen before. The crowd watches in a mix of awe and shock. Blackwood gets frustrated, swinging wildly, but Arissa just flows around her, a picture of deadly calm. The champion finally corners her, grabbing her for a powerbomb, the move that's ended so many matches. But as she lifts, Arissa transitions, locking her arms around Blackwood's neck and shoulders and shifting her weight. The powerbomb is dead in the water. Before Blackwood can even process what happened, Arissa has her on the mat, flowing from one submission attempt to another. It's a dizzying display of grappling that makes the powerhouse champion look like a rookie. The end comes with shocking speed. Arissa isolates an arm, but she doesn't just wrench back on it like a typical arm bar. She applies pressure to nerve clusters in the wrist and shoulder, a subtle, brutal technique learned from a lifetime surrounded by martial arts. The champion's face twists, not just in pain, but in confusion. It's a different kind of hurt, one that shuts down the limb. The champion, a woman who prides herself on her toughness, has no choice. She taps out, frantically and desperately. The bell rings. The whole thing took less than 5 minutes. In the stunned silence of the arena, Arissa LeBrock stands up, her expression unchanged. She doesn't celebrate. She doesn't hoist the title. She just looks down at the broken champion, then turns and walks out of the ring, disappearing as quickly as she arrived. She didn't just win a title, she made a statement. The entire WWE Universe, from the fans to the commentators, is left speechless. A debut like that wouldn't just create a new star, it would establish a new kind of threat in the women's division. For years, the division has been dominated by incredible athletes, brawlers, and high flyers. Arissa LeBrock would represent something else entirely, a martial arts purist. She wouldn't be a wrestler who knows some martial arts. She would be a martial artist who has chosen the wrestling ring as her dojo. Her presence would force every other woman on the roster to adapt. How do you game plan for an opponent who doesn't play by the same rules, who doesn't use the same moves? The locker room would be on notice. The top stars, brawlers like Rhea Ripley, technicians like Natalya, all-rounders like Bianca Belair, would suddenly have a new question to ask themselves. How would my style hold up against hers? It would create a series of dream matches built on that clash of styles. Can brute force beat pure technique? Can high-flying artistry find a way around lethal, grounded grappling? Arissa LeBrock would become the final boss of the women's division on night 1, and that shadow of her father would add a layer of Hollywood mystique that blurs the lines between sports entertainment and action movies. Was Steven Seagal training her in secret? Is he the mastermind behind this hostile takeover? This angle brings the kind of mainstream attention WWE craves. It wouldn't just be a wrestling storyline, it would become a cultural moment. Legacy is a complicated thing. It can be a gift, or it can be a cage. Arissa LeBrock was born with one of the most famous in the world, a mix of her mother's beauty and her father's raw power. Her real-life journey has already proven she has the heart of a true fighter, overcoming a massive setback and crippling self-doubt to forge her own path in the tough world of pro wrestling. The story we've laid out, this blueprint of a historic, division-shattering debut, isn't a reality just yet. But all the pieces are there. The character is defined. The backstory is written in real sweat and tears. The skill set is unlike anything the company has ever seen. The question is no longer if Arissa LeBrock has what it takes to make it to WWE. The real question is, when she arrives, will the company have the guts to pull the trigger on a debut so bold, so shocking, and so decisive that it changes the entire industry? They should. Because in a world of sports entertainment, sometimes the most powerful thing you can be is real. And Arissa LeBrock is the real deal. Her debut wouldn't just be a win, it would be a warning.